Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to complete the full Chapter 5 Periodic Inventory Costing Methods. So, Monday we learned how to do Fifo. Tuesday we got to learn LIFO. Now, yesterday we got to learn how to do weighted average. So today we're going to apply all of our knowledge, and also I'm going to show you what it's like to go from journal to the worksheet to the back to the journal. So this is just the proper way of how to do chapter 5. Okay, and I want you guys to get used to doing this, because when we move into our fictitious business and start being to learn how to journalize and learn how to jump from one section to another, this is what we're going to be doing in the future. So then we can kind of get used to it and move along a lot quicker. So here I have the chapter 5 periodic inventory exercises, right? It's got a good chunk of every single thing that we've learned here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here I have the Word document, but I'm going to actually utilize the Excel worksheet just because it will be a lot easier. So let's go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can read and go ahead and do this. So question number 1 says your inventory method is periodic and FIFO. Okay, we're going to assume that all purchases are made on an account, and it just says to round to the nearest penny. Okay, so on June 5th, we purchased 1,000 toys at $1 each with the freight cost of $50. So here I'm going to make sure I'm on my fresh worksheet here, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. Okay, so on June 5th, we bought 1,000 units at $1 and freight was $50. Okay, so good. So our purchase price is going to be our quantity times our unit price, which gives us 1,000, and this is going to be total cost is our purchase price plus freight to give us a total of 1,050. And here our cost per item is going to be our total cost divided by our quantity to give us $1.05. Okay. Now, most oftentimes, if you go ahead and dive right into the inventory worksheet, you're more likely to forget to journalize. So in this case, that is exactly what has happened. And what's usually is recommended is to actually journalize it first. So in this case, question number 1, I'm going to journalize my entry here in my question 2. So here's my journal, and I'm going to indicate that on June 5th, we made a purchase, right? So we're going to debit our accounts. For purchase expense and freight expense. And because we had that little indicator, we are going to know that we've made a purchase on account. Now in this case, I've already plugged my answers in here, and I've already solved for my purchase price. It's for 1,000 and my freight was 50, giving me a grand total of 1,050. So here I'm gonna go ahead and journalize as is for the $1,000 and the $50 freight, and I'm going to do a quick formula here just to ensure that my accounting is accurate. and that each side has matched. Right? So there you go. 1,000 plus 50 equals 1050. And just for show, I'm going to go ahead and indicate here that I purchased 1,000 unit 1,000. Let's see, what did we buy? We bought toys. Okay, so I'm going to indicate that I bought 1,000 toys at $1 each. At $1 each. Okay. And now my journal has been completed. Okay. So what happened on June 7? You returned 200 broken toys for a full refund. Okay. So because it says right here that I have returned 200 broken items for a full refund, we're going to go ahead and understand, well, first, what is the journal that is what is our journal going to look like? So on June 7, we are returning for a full refund. Well, first, how do we pay for our items? We pay them on accounts payable. So with a full refund in mind, that means we are going to lower the amount that we actually owe. Okay? And in this case, because we're focusing on our periodic inventory, we need to recognize that, okay, so we returned 200 toys because they were broken, okay? So I'm going to create a contra account called Purchase Returns and Allowances. All right? And with this in my description, right, how much did I actually pay originally to buy these items? Okay, so in this case, I should be able to know that it is for $1 each. But let's go ahead and bring it back to my actual worksheet here. Okay, so I have a little section. Again, this is the full one. I have a little section at the bottom right here that says returns and allowances and discounts. So I made a return of 200 items, okay? Now, how much did it originally cost me to purchase these items? Okay? So in this case, you can never return freight, okay? You can never return sales tax. You cannot return any of those things. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and look at how much I originally purchased each item for. And it says here that I bought it for $1 each. So I'm going to go and come here and I'm going to apply this dollar right here. And I'm going to multiply across so I can figure out what my total cost of my return is. And now this tells me that I've calculated for the 200 items. Okay? So with that being said, there's 200 here. Okay? And it's for $200. So I'm going to go back to my journal because I've already solved for what it was. I'm going to be returning $200 to my account as well as return those 200 items. And here in my description, I'm going to go ahead and write return 200 toys. Full refund. Okay, just so then I can acknowledge that I've made a refund. Okay, and now I've completed my journal. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what happens next. On June 10th, I purchased 850 toys at $1.25, and my freight is going to be $45. So I'm going to go to my inventory worksheet over here, and I'm going to make note that on June 10, I bought 850 items at $1.25 each, and my freight was $45. So here, my purchase price, okay, is going to be 800 times $1.25, which gives me 1062.50. Okay. And then with my freight of 45, going back to my inventory worksheet, I'm going to recognize that my total cost should be a total of $11.07.50. Okay. And if I take that total and divide it by my 850, here it is. It's going to be for $1.30. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and go to my journal. I know that on June 10th, I made a purchase of 850 toys. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this journal right here, because I know that this is exactly what my journal should look like. It should be a purchase expense, a freight expense for all on an account for the total of my amount here. I'm going to go ahead and edit my piece of information here, right? Because we only bought 850 toys, and it cost me $1.25 each. Okay, so here we were given that by looking at the calculations here, it should have been 1062.50 plus 45 makes it 1107.50. So 62.50. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cell reference this to the 1062.50, and this is going to be 45, and this is going to be the total of these two items, giving me a total of 1107.50. Okay, so there, my journal has been completed. Right. Then what happened on June 12th is you returned 50 of those toys because they were the wrong color. However, you accepted a 20% discount. So the vendor convinced you somehow to keep those toys even though they were the wrong color, and they convinced you to take a 20% discount, and you accepted. So for these 50 toys, okay, and this was on June 12th, assuming that this was from the previous batch. So 6/12, so June 12th, we're going to recognize that we are going to be lowering our accounts payable because that's how we originally paid for it. And because we were attempting to return, okay, we end up actually receiving a discount, which in this case, it's going to be applied as an allowance. It's not a discount because it's not something that we give to everybody. This is a personal discount because we're attempting to return it. So it becomes an allowance. Okay? So with that being here, we actually don't know how much to go ahead and calculate. So we're going to go back to our table, and we're going to refer that the one that we are recently looking at is going to be what we just recently purchased on the 10th. So in this case, okay, our quantity that we're returning is going to be 0 because we never actually returned it to the vendor. However, how much did it actually cost me? Well, it cost me $1.25 each, okay, to sell. Now I'm going to go back and let's make sure and confirm. We are returning or attempting to return 50 toys, but we're taking a 20% discount off of those 20 toys. Oh, I mean those 50 toys. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually do a little computation here. I'm going to take my $1.25, and I'm going to multiply it by the 50 units that I am supposedly supposed to take return or refund, because that's what I want to return for. However, I'm also going to multiply this by the 20%, because that is actually the money that I'm going to be discounted for or being given an allowance for. So in this case, my total amount here is going to be $12.50. Okay, so how did I do that? It's going to be 50 times my $1.25, which I'll go ahead and show you the calculation here, which should give you a total of $62.50. And when I take my $62.50 and I multiply it by 20%, it is exactly $12.50. So I'll go ahead and leave that calculation alone. There you go. So $12.50 is going to be my allowance that I'm getting back. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my journal, and I'm going to recognize that I should be getting $12.50 back from the vendor for the 20% discount off of my items. So in this case, I'm going to write return 50 toys, 20% discount. Okay, so here, this is telling me that I've attempted to return 50, but I actually got a 20% discount anyways. So return 50 toys. I'll be a little bit more specific. Return 50 toys for 20% discount. Okay, so now our journal is complete. All right. So far, so good. So now, what has happened on June 20th? June 20th, I purchased another 500 toys at $1.50 each, and my freight cost is $25. So I'm going to go to my table, okay, and I'm going to indicate that on June 20th, I purchased 500 toys at $1.50, and my freight was $25. Okay, so let's go ahead and double confirm that. 500 toys at $1.50, and my freight is $25. So here, my total purchase price is going to be 500 times $1.50, which gives me $750. I'm going to add those two numbers together to give me my total cost of, and that's going to give me a total of $775. Now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to find my cost per item, and my cost per item is going to be my 775 divided by my 500, which gives me a total of $1.55. Now, I just want to ensure that this is a whole number, but if I expand it, yes, it's evenly $1.55. So good. They divided very evenly. So in this case, I'm good to go. All right. And then I'm going to go to my journal, right? It's going to be for the same exact journal entry, except my content and my debits and credits are going to look a little different. So in this case, on June 20th, I made a purchase expense. However, I only bought 500 toys, and it was for $1.50 each. And in this case, we did solve for it. This one was, I believe it was $7.50. And the second one, and then my freight here was $25. And that brought me to a grand total of $775 even. Okay. Good. Then what has happened on June 21st? We returned 20 defective toys for a full refund. So we opened up our boxes, right? We tested out our toys, and we found that these toys are defective. Maybe they're not mobile. They're missing something. Okay? So we found that 20 out of those toys are defective, and we're going to return them for a full refund. Okay? So again, my journal is going to look exactly like this right up here, right? We're going to decrease our accounts payable, and this time we're actually getting a refund. Okay? And this was on 6/21. And we want to make note that we are actually returning 20 defective toys, full refund. Okay? Now, let's actually calculate how much those defective toys I'm actually getting back. So again, assuming that every package that we open, we find something wrong with the product. So in this case, I'm returning 20 items, okay? And how much did it cost me for my third batch? It cost me $1.50, okay? Because we can't return or refund any freight expenses, okay? So here you go. I'm going to multiply it across for the 20 items at $1.50, and that's going to give me a total of $30 that I am returning. So here I go to my journal, and I am going to record the $30 refund. Okay? Good. Now, we've completed that. Now, let's see what has happened next. On June 25th, you purchased a total of 600 toys at $1.75 each, and the freight was $30. Okay, so here I'm at 600 items at $1.75. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to my worksheet. I'm going to recognize that on June 25th, I just bought 600 items at $1.75, and my freight was $30. Okay, so in this case, my total purchase price here is going to be for my $10.50. Okay, so 600 items. Let me double check my work here. 600 items at $1.75 each, and my freight was $30. So that's bringing me up from that's bringing my total up to a total of $10.80. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and solve for my cost per item, and I'm going to get $1.80. Okay, even. Okay, cool. Now with that being said, so this is my cost per item. Okay, and now that I recognize that it's $10.50 plus 30 gives it $10.80, we're going to go to my journal. And again, we've recognized that it's going to be the same exact transaction here, right? We're going to debit our purchases, and we're going to credit our freight expense. Okay? And this was on June 25th. So again, we know that our total purchase price is going to be the $10.50. I know my freight was $30, so that should give me a grand total of $10.80. Okay? And I'm also going to fix this little piece of information here because I bought 600 items or 600 toys, and it cost me $1.75 each. Okay? And then lastly, what has happened on June 30th? June 30th, you're given this piece of information that you have a total of 1250 toys on hand. So that's going to indicate to me that, ding, 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 my ending inventory is going to be for the total of the 1250 toys. Okay? Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and we reach the end of the period, and we're going to fill out our second bottom half of the worksheet. So let's total up our values in each column. So here I have a total quantity of $29.50. Okay? And I'm going to get a total purchase price of $38.62.50. So $3,862.50. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add my total freight, which is going to give me a total of $150. And that's going to bring up my grand total to be $4,012. Okay. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and plug those information down here in our little table here. So we made a total purchase of 2,950 items. We got it for $3,862.50. So here is where we're going to be asking, well, what was our total purchase returns and allowances? Well, let's go ahead. We looked over here on the right side. So what I'm going to do is, usually this bottom line is going to be my total. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself a total. So equals sum. And I'm going to, I'm in the wrong box actually. So one more over. So equals sum. And I'm going to recognize that I had this many returns. And if I copy the formula in this box, it's going to tell me that I returned a total of $242.50 worth of items. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and plug in these numbers over here. All right, I returned a total of 220 items, and it cost me a total of $242. Okay, so let's review that. We returned 200 from our first batch. We got a discount on the second batch for $12.50, and we returned 20 items in the third batch. Okay, giving us a grand total of this. Now, if we use our indicators on the left, we know that we're going to take our total amount and we're going to subtract the items that we returned to bring us down to now $27.30. Okay? Same thing's going to go for here. We're going to take our $3,862.50 and we're going to subtract the $242.50 to bring us a new grand total of $36.20. Okay? Of course, freight gives us no value in quantity, but it does increase the total amount of our total cost. So here, we're going to sum up our total net purchases or add them up. So here, we're going to take our $36.20 plus our $150 to give us a grand total of $3,770. Okay? So good. Okay? In this case, we are starting brand new, so we don't have ending inventory. So we're going to go ahead and copy and bring these down here. okay, given us this total here, right, that when we start and we're going to end, it's going to reflect this amount here. Okay, so there you go. Now, I know that at the end of the day, I should have $12.50 left in my inventory. Okay, but in this case, how do I solve for my cost of goods sold? Well, I'm going to take my goods available. I'm going to subtract out my ending balance to get me my cost of goods sold. So here I sold a total of $14.80. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and enter in my formula here because now I need to calculate for my cost of goods sold. All right, so here I'm going to also apply it to my rest of my table. So now this is where the fun begins. Okay, so this is where you have to do a little thinking and a little bit of calculations. Now, we're understanding that we are starting off with our scenario, and we read that my inventory tracking and my costing methods is going to be periodic, and it's going to be FIFO. So we're going to go from first in to are the first ones out. So we're going to start from the top. We're going to start from the top of 1,000 and then work our way down to the ending of our total, which is going to be the 25th of June. Now, let's go ahead and review this piece of information, okay? So we need to get a total of $14.80, okay? $14.80, right? Our first batch says we still have here is going to be for 1,000 items. Now, hold on. Do we actually still have 1,000 items in our inventory? No, we don't. We actually do not have the 1,000 items because we actually made a return of 200 items. So actually what we're going to do here is we're going to do a simple calculation. We know that we originally bought 1,000 items, but we've also returned 200 of those items, okay? So that's going to give us 800. But at least with this, we know that it's safe to assume that we're taking the whole entire batch because we're starting from top to bottom. We need to get to 1480. So in this case, we're taking the full 800 from our first batch. And of course, with that being said, my total cost is not going to be reflective, right? We know that we started out with $10.50. However, with the refund, we have to also subtract out that $200 because we refunded the amount. So that means my new total is going to be for $8.50, okay? You can do the extra math where you apply 800 times $1 plus the freight of 50 to get you $8.50. However, so with the one thing that you have to do is when you're making your purchase expense, right? You cannot take anything out or away from your purchase expense because at the end of the day, when we do our conversion entry, what's going to happen is if you start mixing and messing up these pieces of information, your information will not be reflective. It will be a little off and a little wonky. So you want to make sure that the table up here stays put, okay? But we know that from our first batch, right? And I made an indicator that I returned the $1 items right here. So here I made a little, I know that I should have 800 left and I've adjusted my total cost accordingly, all right? If you want to, you can figure out the cost per item or the unit cost here, but it's unnecessary. It's an unnecessary step because we no longer have this batch. We're not going to calculate it ever again. So in this case, there's really no purpose to calculate a brand new cost per item. You can, for practice purposes only, which is pretty straightforward, you're going to take your 850 and divide it by 800 to give you that now that each item is now $1.06. Okay? So, with that being said, we have a total of sold is 800. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next batch that we have. In this case, my next batch is going to be for the 850. Okay? Now, we actually still have the whole entire 850. However, we got a discount off of that 850, right? We tried to attempt to return 50 of those items, but again, the vendor convinced us to get a 20% discount. So in this case here, I recognize that my value needs to be discounted because some of those cups that I bought, some of those toys that I bought are discounted priced. So here I can recognize that I have a total of $18.50. However, my total is going to reflect this. So because I'm going to start with $11.07.50, I need to also update my inventory and say, well, it's not for that price. I discounted it for $12.50 to bring me back down to now is $10.95. Okay? Now, let's look at how much we actually sold. Uh-oh, we sold too many. We're supposed to reach our goal of 480, and here I've gone too far. I've gone 1650. So I need to go ahead and take some of those items out. But how am I going to do that? How much more items do I actually need to get in order to get to 1480? So here, this is where you can do your little calculation on the side. So with your scratch paper, right, you can recognize that if I were to take 1480 and subtract the 800 that I purchased earlier, I know that I need to get 680 remaining from that amount. So if I know that I need to get to 680, okay, one thing is that I need to do is I need to now calculate a new cost per item because, again, I made a return in allowances. I received my allowance. So my new cost per item will change. It's no longer $1.30. Okay? So here in this little unit cost, I'm actually going ahead and type in the information. So I know that my new total cost is $10.95 and it's going to be divisible by the total quantity, which here it's going to be for 850 items. So here I have that long formula in there. That's okay. We're okay with that. We're just going to leave that in Excel, okay? So in this case, each item that I sell is going to be costing me $1.28,823, okay? So I know that I need to sell 680 items. So I'm going to go ahead and match that. Boom. Now we are matched at 1480. I know that I need to make a calculation here. Now, because I need to round my numbers and make it really solid, because if I multiply these two numbers together, I'm going to get a big, huge number with 1,000,000 cents behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my formula, which is going to be equal round. All right? And I'm going to press tab to activate the formula. All right? And what this argument's going to be is I'm going to do my computation. So I'm going to take my quantity and I'm going to multiply it by my cost per item. I'm going to end the argument with a comma. And now I want how many decimal places do I want to put it in? I want to use 2 because I want the nearest penny. So in this case, once I reach there, I'm going to go ahead and end my parentheses, or close my parentheses for my formula, and I'm going to press enter. And here it gets me a number of $876 even. Okay? Now, of course, I wouldn't have known that this was going to be an even number unless I were to just go ahead and multiply them across. So I actually end up getting an even number. But that's okay. This is good practices for when we do actually look into other scenarios and that the number isn't an even number. So in this case, we got lucky. All right, we lucky that we made this calculation with this huge extra numbers and we end up getting an even number. So here I have a total of $876 for selling that 80 items, toys. And I'm going to sum them up to get me a grand total of $1726 even. And that's going to be my cost of goods sold. And what am I going to do here is I'm going to finally solve for my ending inventory, which is going to be my goods available minus my cost of goods sold to bring me down to now $22,044 even. Okay? So there I did a lot of calculations, and now I have also solved for my piece of information that I need to complete my ending adjustment journal. So here we're going to recognize that this is June 30th, okay? And that I need to have these components, right? So what is my inventory? What did I buy? Well, since I have ending inventory, right, I'm moving from an expense into toys and everything else. So what I know here is I need to have an inventory account called toys, right? I'm also going to recognize my cost of goods sold. Okay? And here I know with this piece of this piece of information that I'm given, I know that my ending balance for my toys is actually going to be for the 2,044 items, because that's how many items I actually have left. And here I'm also going to recognize my cost of goods sold, which in here we know it's $17.26. Okay? All right. So now the next thing that we're going to be looking at is I need to recognize my purchase expense. And I'm also going to recognize my freight expense. Okay? And here I know what that is because I've calculated my total purchases that I've made in here, right? I made a total of $3,082.62.50, okay? And I know that my total freight was $150, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to place them in decimal places. So with that being said, if I were to just go ahead and do a quick sum on each side, so I got 3,770 on the debit side, and I have a total of 4,012 on the left side. So what am I going to be missing here? I'm going to be missing a total of $242.50. Ding, ding, ding. Where do we see that number occur? Oh, it's our returns and allowances. Okay, so here now we got to recognize that we have a returns and allowances. Because we originally credited them, right? We originally placed them as a credit. Because we're zeroing out the account, you just put it in its opposite direction. So in order to zero out that account, we're going to debit the account for the purchase returns and allowances. Which in this case, that's exactly what our journal is telling us to do. Okay, it's telling us that, hey, you're missing a journal. It's going to be for the 2,442, 242.50. And boom, once I plug that number in, now my journals are even. Okay, I can get rid of that. And another thing that we also want to also place here is going to be my little description. So I'm going to go ahead and write adjusting inventory. Oh, actually, let's change that. Adjusting for periodic inventory. Okay. And that is how you complete this entire thing, doing from journal to the worksheet, back to the journal, or doing the worksheet and then back to the journal. Now, oftentimes, what a lot of accountants have done, and it's a mistake that happens all the time, they look at the scenario and they dive straight into the worksheet and they completely forget about journalizing their purchases. So it's always rule of thumb to try to go to your journal first. You recognize the transaction. At least come up with some kind of foundation or some kind of idea on how your journal is going to look like. And then go to your worksheet, apply, can make your calculations, and then go back to the journal. And then you can kind of make an assumption. Okay, well, this is the information I need. Plug it in, and that way you don't have to do your calculations twice. Okay? All right, any questions on the first example here? Well, you can't ask any questions, but I hope there isn't any questions in regards to the first example here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be continuing our lesson. So here we're going to go ahead and continue our lesson here. So here, so now we're going to be continuing question number 3, which says to continue the inventory from question number 1. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to be looking at continuing from the scenario. So your inventory method is periodic and it is Fifo. So again, we're going to continue the same method, but this time we're going to apply the concept of having beginning inventory. So in this case, we know from June 30th that we should actually have a total of 1,250 toys on hand. All right, and we're going to continue. So we're going to continue with that, but also another little indicator is journalize all the transactions and include the adjustment entry. So number 4 is we're going to continue practicing the idea of switching back and forth with the journal. Okay, but this time we're going to go ahead and apply the stuff that we had from the previous one into our new one. So in this case, hold on, I'm going to double check. Okay, so here We know that on June 30th we have 1250, so I'm going to go ahead and copy the information from our previous section here and bring it over to our other side. So knowing that we're supposed to have a remainder amount in my in this account right here, right? We started off with 1850. I'm sorry, with 850, and we're going to subtract the 680, all right? So here, before we do anything, I'm just going to go ahead and just copy the other piece of information down first. So I know that I still have my June 20th available, and I still have my 600 from my June 25th. So that right there is 1100, okay? At least I know that those are going to be what I'm going to be transferring over in my second worksheet over here. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. Okay. And I know that I have, for my quantity is, I have 3 quantities that I need to transfer over. All right. I know that this is going to be 500 and this is going to be 600. And at the end of the day, it needs to equal up my total amount of 1,250. Okay, and we know that from us transferring over the amount that this needs to be reflective. So I remember I had 850 and I sold 680, which gives me 170. That doesn't look right. So question number 1, 680. 680. And I originally bought 850. So my total should be 1250. Oh, that's right, because my second batch, my third batch that I bought, I've also have to update that one. I have 20 extra items, right? So in this case, I'm supposed to update this 500 items as well because I don't have those 500 items. I only have 480. So in this case, I have to carry that as well over. So here, so question number 3. So question number 3, right? I know that I should have 170 remaining in my second batch. And I know that the quantity here, or my cost per item, should be for that total. And I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and do the total cost here. Okay, so I have to go apply this. Now, I had 500 and I returned 20. So I have a total of 480 remaining, right? And that means it also affects my actual it affects my actual total cost and the cost per item I actually have. So in this case, I'm going to go up here into my 500. I know I started out with 775. And I know I'm going to subtract because I returned $30 of it. So now I should have 745, and I'm going to recalculate a brand new cost per item because in this case, it will change. It should change because of your freight. Your freight gives you that. And if I extend my numbers out, I can see that it is not $100. It's not $1.55 even. It's actually more than that. So I just expanded it so you guys know that this is not a rounded number, and you should keep it unrounded for the purpose of losing out on money when you actually cost your goods. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer this last piece of information here. Oh, actually, it's going to cost me $180, and it should be this. And then by me tallying up all my totals, making sure that I've made all my adjustments before transferring it over here. Here I have a total of $1,250, and it is boom, boom, boom for the total of $2,044, which is exactly what was reflective of my previous scenario. Okay, so here I've adjusted and I've recognized, and this is my new inventory on hand, right? I started off, I'm keeping it in order on how I made the purchases for, okay? So let's go ahead and go into the exercise and see what we have to deal with next. So on July 5th, we made a purchase of 500 toys at $1.65, with the freight costing me $25. So 500 at 165. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to recognize that this is 75. I have this for $1.65. And I'm going to make sure that all of these are also going to be in dollar format. So here I got 165, and my total freight was going to be for $25. Okay, so I ended up placing my information in the wrong cell. So this is the 5th of July. I bought a total of 500 items. That's costing me $1.65 with my freight of $25. And my purchase price is going to be my quantity times my price, which should give me a total of $825. Now let me double confirm this, that it is 500 toys at $1.65 with a freight cost of $25. Okay, so here, 500. Okay, so I need to change my quantity to 500. So by me accidentally changing or entering in the wrong information, I've actually ended up converting this into the date. So I'm going to fix it like that, okay? So good. So again, my number still came out just fine. My total cost is going to be my purchase price plus my freight expense, which is giving me a total of $850. And I'm going to solve for my cost per item, which is taking the $850 divided by the 500 to give me a grand total of, that is not right. This divided by 500 should give me a total of $850 divided by 500 gives me $1.70. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna double check to see if this is an even number, and it is. Okay, so that's that one. And because we're practicing our journal, what are we gonna have here? It's going to be the same exact journal entry, right? We got this, except the date is going to be July 5th. We know that we need to have a purchase expense we know we need to have a freight expense. And we know we need to have them on an account. So we have to recognize the accounts payable. And here, I'm going to get an indicator that I purchased 500 toys at $1.65 each. Okay. And I'm also going to indicate here what that total was. So I know it was for $8.25 plus $25 of freight, which should give you a total of $8.50. Okay. And I'm going to format this. Okay. There you go. Okay. So now we know that we have a total of $8.50 in my journal. Okay, so then now we complete our journal and we completed our entry into our inventory worksheet. So let's go ahead and continue on with the next portion of the problem. So here we recognize that on July 10, we purchased a total of 800 toys at $1.80 with a freight of $40. So on June 10, purchase 800 toys. July 10, we purchased 800 toys at $1.80. Let's confirm that. 800 toys at $1.80 and freight was $40. Okay, so 800 at $1.80 and at $1.80 and freight was $40. And here, let's calculate our purchase price, which we know is going to be your 800 times $1.80, which gives us a grand total of $14.40. Plus our $4 freight, we're going to get $40 freight. It is going to be $14.80, all right? And then we're going to solve for our cost per item. And in this case, it's going to be, so $14.80 divided by my 800 to give me $1.85. I'm going to go ahead and double check to see if that was evened out, and it was evened out. Okay, so $1.85 is what you got to recognize. Now, with that being said, we have to go back to our journal because this time we made a second journal entry or we made a purchase. So we need to update our journal to know that we had this done. Okay. So here, my purchase price or my purchase expense was for $14.40. We had a $40 freight to give us a total of $14.80. Okay, and here I have to change this to 800 toys at $1.80 each. Okay. Next thing that happened was on the 11th of July, you returned 100 defective toys at a full refund. Okay, so we tested the toys and found out that 100 of those toys are defective. So, I at least know that for my journal, on the 11th of July, we are going to make a return, or we're going to, we're making a full return for 100 items. So we know that if I'm making a refund, I should be getting my money back. In this case, I'm lowering the amount that I owe, okay? And then we're going to be using a contra account, which is going to be our purchase, returns, and allowance. Purchase returns and allowance. All right. And I'm going to also indicate that I returned 100 defective toys, full refund. Okay. Now, let's calculate what that is. Okay, so here on the inventory worksheet, all right, I'm going to now utilize the right hand corner. So the quantity is 100, okay, and I know that it's going to be from the previous one, right? We know, just assuming that it's going to be from the previous batch, which we know is going to be for 180. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply across to get me my grand total of returns I need to do. In this case, it's for 180. Right? I've also indicated that this is for the second batch that we bought for $1.80. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my journal because I've already solved for it. And I know that I'm going to be refunding 180. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and see what has happened next. So then on July 20th, right, I made another purchase of 300 toys at $1.85. So notice that every single time I'm making a purchase, it's just getting more expensive. So on July 20th, 300 toys at $1.85 with a freight cost of $15. So back to my worksheet, I'm going to recognize that on July 20th, I bought 300 toys at $1.85. My freight was $15. So my total purchase price here is going to be for $555 plus my freight of $15, which would bring me to $570. Okay. And then with that being said, my cost per item is going to be now for $1.90. So again, I'm going to check to see if that was even, and it was even. Okay. So now let's go to our journal because now we finally have bought a new batch of inventory. So same thing's going to happen here. You're going to journalize for your purchase expense and your freight expense. So this was July 20th, all right? You're going to recognize your purchase expense and your freight expense, which in this case we know was $555 and freight was $15 to give you a grand total of $570, okay? And we also need to indicate right here that we actually bought 300 toys at $1.85 each. Okay. So we completed our journal and we also completed our inventory worksheet. So what has happened next? So on July 21st, okay, on July 21st, you returned 50 toys the wrong color, but you're willing to accept a 20% discount. Okay, so this is assuming from the 300 batch, 50 of them were actually the wrong color. And you are willing to accept a 20% discount. With that being said, 50 toys at $1.85, okay? And you're taking a 20% discount. So here I'm going to go in my journal and I'm going to recognize that, well, at least I know this part. I know that my foundation is going to be that I'm going to get a return on my on my account for the items because I'm attempting to return. But another thing is because I'm willing to accept the discount, right, that they provide for me. I'm going to still recognize the allowance for the purchase returns and allowance. I'm gonna recognize that account. Okay. So in this case, I also have to write here that I'm not getting full refund. Okay. I am return 50 toys for 20% discount. Okay. So now I actually have to go calculate that. So I'm going to go back into my inventory worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and apply myself right here. Because I'm trying to return 50 items, I'm not actually returning them. I'm still keeping those 50 items. However, I'm just getting a discount price off of it. But let's go ahead and look at what we originally purchased it for. So I'm assuming the one that proceed before that is going to be my $1.85. And I know that I'm going to take my $1.85, I'm going to multiply it by 50, and then I'm going to multiply it by my 20%. So 20% of that total is going to give me $18.50. So again, 50 times $1.85 is going to give me $92.50. $92.50 times 20% is going to give me, let's do that again. $92.50 multiplied by my 20% is going to give me $18.50 as my total. So again, I'm going to enter in the formula so you guys don't get lost. Okay. So here it is. A total for $18.50 is going to be refunded to my account. And this is where I place it here for $18.50. Okay. Okay, so let's see what has happened next. On the 25th of June, okay, I purchased 100 toys at $1.75 and my freight was $5. So 100 toys at $1.75 with a freight of $5. Okay, so here I go back to my inventory worksheet. I'm going to recognize that July 25th, I purchased 100 items at $1.75 and my freight was $5. So in this case, my calculation or my total purchase price is going to be for $175 plus $5 will bring me now to my total cost of $180 to bring me down to my cost of per item to be $1.80. Okay. And with that being said, I made another purchase. So I'm going to copy this information right here. And I'm going to apply it down here. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I make note that this one's on 25th. My purchase expense, which we know is $175 plus $5 of freight. To give me a grand total of $180. And I'm also going to make a note here that I only purchased 100 toys and it was at $1.75. Okay. Last but not least, here it says here on July 31st, you have a grand total of 600 toys on hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply this piece of information to my inventory table or inventory worksheet. Okay, so my inventory worksheet, my ending balance is going to be for 600 items. Okay. Okay, so now that we've reached our end of the period, now we can go ahead and do our calculations here. So here we're going to total up our sums of each column. And so my total purchases that I've made is going to be 1,700. Okay, this doesn't need to be that many. Okay, so 1,700 items. Okay, and my total purchase price is going to be a total of 2,995. Okay, and my total freight is going to be for $85, and my total cost is going to be for $3,080 even. Okay, so now we're going to apply these numbers down here. So my total quantity that I bought was 1,700, and I bought it for 2,995. My total returns and allowances. So here, I'm going to go ahead and total this up right here, since I need to know what my total amount of returns and allowances are. So in this case, I recognize by just looking at the information here, I automatically know that I have to return 100 items. But for the total amount of those 100 items is going to be a total of $198.50. Okay, so here I'm going to indicate that I've returned a total of 100 items, and that the amount for those items is going to be a total of $198.50. Okay, and then by using the little information here on the left, I should have a total of 1,600 items, and it should be for the total of $27.96.50. Okay. Freight is going to be added, which in this case, my freight of $85 is going to apply here. So by adding up these totals, I should have a total for here $28.81.50. Okay. Now, question is, did I have beginning inventory? And yes, I did. I had originally $12.50 from the beginning, which cost me $2,044. Okay, so I need to add this together with my net purchases to give me my total goods available. So by copying this information down here, I'm gonna add $12.50 to my 1,600 to give me $28.50. I'm going to add my $244 plus my $288.150 to get me, cancel. Let's redo that formula. I'm going to add, okay, let me clear out the cell. There you go. And I'm going to redo my formula. So it's going to be this plus this to give me a grand total of $4,925.50. Since I know I have my ending balance to be 600, I am going to subtract those numbers. So I sold a total of 2,250 items. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my formula here. Okay. Just so then I can keep track of how many items I actually need to sell. Okay. All right. So in this case, because our method is first in are usually the first out, we're going to safely assume that our beginning balances are where we're going to start first. So in this case, we are definitely going to sell our first 170, okay? And we're going to take the whole amount, so 170, okay? And we're going to take the whole amount of it, which was for the 219. Okay. Then we're going to be looking at our second batch here, which we know is for 480. And we know that we're going to get rid of that entire thing because we need to sell 2,000 items. So in this case, this piece of information, 750, is going to be applied. And again, I'm going to just copy this for reference points so you know where you're taking this information from. Okay. All right. So now we've sold a total of 650 items. What else do we need to sell? Well, just to give a little hint here, we know that our beginning inventory is 1250. So 1250, of course, that's plenty enough to contribute to the 2,500. So in this case, I'm actually copying everything that's in my inventory on hand and placing it here in my inventory or in my workspace right here. So here, I know that with the $1,250, it should be for the $2,044. Okay. So now that we've got rid of that, all right. So now we can go ahead and dive right into our purchases. Okay. Since we're doing the first in, first out method, our first assumption is we're going to be taking from the top and making our way down to the bottom. So in this case, are we going to be taking out 500? Yes, we are. Okay. Now, do we actually have this full 500? Okay. And then let's check our returns and allowances. Yes, we do. We do. We never did anything. We didn't do any returns for that one. So yes, we have the full 800 available in our inventory. So in this case, because we know that we're going to take the whole amount, we don't need to calculate it because we know it's going to cost me $850 for the whole thing. Okay. So now I'm exactly at $1,750. All right. How much more do I actually need to sell? Okay. So in this case, I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. Okay. Unless I go ahead and do a little quick math here. If I know that I have, I need 2,250 and I already have 1,750, I need to sell exactly 500 more items. Okay? So good to know. I need to sell exactly 500 more items, right? But for now, I'm just going to put that on the side. Okay? So first off, for our next batch that we're going to be looking into is going to be our 800 batch. Now, do we really have 800 in our inventory? And in this case, no, we don't. We returned 100 of those items. Okay, remember, we returned 100 of those items. Okay? So by returning those 100 items, we're going to have to do our little formula here, which is going to be our 800. And we're going to subtract the 100 to give us a grand total of 700. But don't forget, my total cost has also adjusted as well. We started out with $14.80. We started out with $14.80, and we also refunded our $180, so we need to adjust that and take that out. So my new total is going to be for $1,300 even. Okay? And because I'm not going to be taking out all 700 items, I need to start calculating a new cost per item. So 1,300 divided by my 700 is going to give me this long number here. Okay. And with that being said, now we can go ahead and safely remove this number. So this is supposed to be 500, and we're going to multiply them across to bring us a total of this number here. Now, remember when I told you, if you were to do this kind of calculations, your number is going to be beyond. So I'm going to go ahead and expand my window and show you how long this number is. So in this case, this is where you actually need to apply your equal round number. So here we get a whole bunch of numbers here that may affect your total quantity and your total cost at the end. So this is where I go ahead and use my equal round formula. And I'm going to do my computation. That's my first argument. So I'm going to multiply these again. You're going to end your argument with a comma. And the next argument is going to be how many decimal places do you want to have? In this case, I want 2. I want to end at the nearest penny. And by me pressing enter, there you go. It rounds it off to me at the nearest penny. And it is now showing me that it is exactly 50 cents, 57 cents even. Okay? And with that being said, I have met my 2,250 items. And I've already tallied up how much my total amount is going to be, and here it is. It is going to be $43,822.50. Okay, 57. Okay. Then to solve for ending inventory, you're just going to subtract that out, and now you get 1102.93. Okay, so with that being said, let's finish off our little journal over here. So I've already completed all my information. Again, I have my purchase returns and allowances, and I also have beginning inventory. So let's see how this pans out. So my journal is going to look like this. So here I'm going to reach my adjustment entry. So on July 31st, right? We're going to recognize that we need to place our ending inventory in there. We have a cost of goods sold in there. We've also made purchase returns and allowances. And we're also going to recognize that we had our purchase expense, along with our freight expense. And lastly, we also have to include our number one thing, which is going to be our beginning inventory. Okay? So with that piece of information here, we can go ahead and plug in everything that we have calculated in our inventory worksheet. So my ending inventory is going to be the 1102.93. My cost of goods sold is going to be my 3,822. My purchase returns and allowances is going to be for my $198. And my total purchases is going to be my $2,995. My total freight, which was $85. And my beginning inventory was for the $2,044. Okay, so just like as usual, let's go ahead and tally up each debits and credits and see if we match. Okay, so I got a total of 5121, and my debits match equal 100%, 5121. 24, my bad. All right, so good for everyone. All right, make sure that you have your little description saying this is an adjustment or adjusting for periodic inventory. Okay, and close parentheses. All right, so good job. All right, if everyone followed along pretty good, this is exactly how you're doing for the first 4 questions. Now, the next section, which is going to be the next video over here, we're going to continue on with different types of methods. So we're going to be introducing to you again, or re-exposing you to LIFO. And this time, we're only going to be focusing on journalizing the conversion entry. Okay, so that is it for now, and we'll continue back on with this in the next video.